What's up, guys? Behind me is my 2023 Toyota Supra, and today we've got two new mods that we're going to be installing onto it. So hopefully by the end of the video it is sounding and looking better as well. So stick around. Hope you enjoy the video. Here's a closer look at the two parts we're going to be installing today. So we're going to be replacing the stock plastic charge pipe from BMW with the raw titanium charge pipe by Apex built. We also have the carbon fiber Armaspeed intake. Car currently has the MST version 2. Should sound pretty similar, but it's definitely going to look a lot better with that carbon fiber lid in the engine bay. This isn't going to be a step-by-step install guide, but we are going to go over some of the trickier steps like removing the sensors from the intake, as well as getting the stock charge pipe out of the car, because it can be kind of tricky to wiggle around and get out. And then stick around to the end of the video. We have before and after sound clips, so we'll do some revs with the stock charge pipe and MST version 2, and then we'll do some revs after with the Apex built titanium charge pipe and the carbon fiber Armaspeed. All right, we are a few minutes in. We got the strut bar and then the intake box lid and filter off. So now I can start to loosen up the rest of the box, and then I can start getting the hose clamps loosened for the intake pipe and then start working on those sensors. First sensor, you're gonna go ahead and take a flathead and just slightly pull up on that plastic clip. And then you're gonna press in on that plastic clip you just lifted and then pull up, and then the sensor will pull right out. All right, now we got that IAT sensor out of the MST intake. We're gonna go ahead and install it in the Armaspeed. That way we make sure that the sensor does not get damaged. All right, so I got most of the MST intake removed. So these next two parts are probably the hardest parts about taking the intake off, and this would be the same for stock as well. So there's a spring C-clip holding the intake pipe onto the turbo inlet, and then there's this breather hose that can be pretty tricky as well. So I'm not going to be able to show you me taking them off because I only have one hand with holding the camera. I'll show you how once I get them removed. All right, so I got the turbo inlet removed. So for the breather hose, again, you just grab on the knurled edges and squeeze it pretty tight. It wasn't very hard to get it off of the MST turbo inlet, but for your stock turbo inlet, you're gonna have to squeeze that really tight. You're going to slide one end up and then rotate it, push the other end up, and then once you can grab onto the back, pull the clip up. It might come all the way out, or you might just be able to loosen it, get those tabs out of the way, and then pull the inlet pipe off. All right, now I got the MST intake off of the car. We're gonna go ahead and compare it to the Armaspeed. So starting out with their differences, the MST uses a two-piece aluminum intake pipe, and then it connects to the turbo inlet using the stock C-clamp. And then moving over to the Armaspeed, we have a carbon fiber one-piece turbo inlet, and then uses this rubber coupler to attach. Honestly, I wish the Armaspeed used the stock C-clamp so that it would be a little bit more secure, but these hose clamps should be plenty secure. And then the intake boxes, they're pretty similar. The Armaspeed has the carbon fiber. You can also option it with the alloy or the forged carbon. And then both filters are about the same size, but they should sound pretty similar. All right, now that we have the intake removed, we're gonna go ahead and remove the stock charge pipe. So there's gonna be some Torx bits, and then down here, you'll see the outlet from the turbo. So it's gonna be using a C-clamp, same as the stock intake pipe. Next step can be pretty tricky, removing this stock charge pipe. It's a really awkward shape, and it's pretty tight in here, so it can be hard to remove. But something that can help you is you remove this 10mm bolt right here that holds this bracket on. Once you remove that, you can pop this bracket off, and then once you move this out of the way, that should free up some space to remove the charge pipe, make your life a little bit easier. For these two sensors, you're gonna go ahead, you'll see a little tab right here at the top of this one. Just pinch that and pull. That one comes out easy. And then this one, I already went ahead and lifted it. You just lift up that white tab just like the ones on the intake, pinch it and pull up, and that comes out as well. Next, I have this piece wiggled out of the way. I'm gonna go ahead and pull on the bottom of the charge pipe. That's off the turbo. Remove the charge pipe from the throttle body. And then now you're just going to gently work it out. You get the stock charge pipe removed. I definitely think that's going to be the hardest part of this install, is removing that. It's pretty tight right down in there, but you can twist it around and get it out of there. It only took me about 2 minutes. So now we're going to go ahead and swap the sensors over to the apex bolt and then get that installed. All right, so I got the first sensor swapped over. The second sensor I didn't realize is a 17mm 12 point. I don't have one, but I was able to loosen it with my fingers. So it's plastic, so I'm just going to install it finger tight as well. So now we got the sensors swapped over, and then you'll notice on some of the charge pipes, you will retain the stock C-clip that was on the bottom portion of the charge pipe. For the Apex built, they supply their own C-clamp. It's going to be a little bit different than that stock one. This does have bungs if you want to run meth injection. And then we have the silicone coupler. So now we're going to go ahead and start the install for the titanium charge pipe. I might have lied about saying removing the stock one was the hardest part, because getting that coupler in the middle situated properly was pretty difficult as well. Once you have the upper portion and the throttle body and the bottom portion on the turbo, it doesn't want to move much, so it's pretty difficult. You're going to want to make sure that you wipe down the charge pipe with a pretty good cleaner, preferably isopropyl alcohol. That will get all of the oils and fingerprints off of the charge pipe. Since it's titanium, if you don't get those off, there's a chance that they could burn in and then they'll leave spots behind. Now we got the charge pipe all wiped down with purple power and then some isopropyl alcohol. Got all the fingerprints off, and now all that's left is to install the Armaspeed intake, and then we will wrap it up with some sound clips. All right, I got the intake almost all the way wrapped up. The only real tricky part with this is when you get the coupler onto the turbo inlet, and then when you put the breather hose back on, it can be kind of difficult. So it actually made it easier for me to put the coupler onto the turbo and then connect the breather hose to the intake pipe and then slide it on to the coupler. And then leave the hose clamp that is tightened onto the intake pipe a little bit loose. Get your intake box on, and then that will allow the intake pipe to rotate a little bit, so that way you can get the intake box on as well as have it so there's no tension on the box. Next, got the filter installed. Did a little pull check on everything, make sure it's all tight. And now all that's left to do is install the airbox cover. I got the lid all installed. So a little tip for that, the tabs that stick up that you screw these into, you're gonna have to bend them a little bit into place to get them to line up through the lid. So it's a little tricky to get it to line up. Brace reinstalled, got the engine cover reinstalled, double checked all of my bolts, everything's tight. There's a little peek at the charge pipe. And yeah, now all I gotta do is start up, make sure there's no leaks. next day. Finished up late last night and it was raining, so had to wrap it up today. I think it looks much better than before. In terms of sound, I think it sounds pretty similar. It might be slightly louder, but let me know what you guys think. As you can see, I also readjusted the lid, made that fitment a little bit better. But yeah, if you found this video helpful, consider leaving a like, consider subscribing. I got more videos on the way, new wheels coming, got lowering springs, and then a few paint match goodies as well. So thanks for watching, and catch y'all in the next video.